Shit, they done let me in the door. They done gave your boy a chance, now the youngin' finna blow. It's a shame finna put the game in the figure four. Youngin' fresh from out that dollar.
Yo, welcome back to my channel. Before we get into it, make sure you like, subscribe, comment. You ain't gotta like, you ain't gotta comment, but I do appreciate it if you just sub and if you're in this video, we'll be talking about Attack on Titan anime original ending, but in particular, we'll be talking about the cult theory. So the jacket theory is something that I'm very interested, but at the same time, very skeptical about. Because if it is something, then obviously it's gonna lead to Attack on Titan getting an anime original ending. Or it could just be one huge fuck up that Isayama made a long time ago, and it's just too late to fucking fix it, which would explain why things are so inconsistent when it comes to the anime. But at the same time, it's not too late to fix it, which makes things very interesting. So as you can see, I do have mixed feelings regarding the jacket theory, and I do have pretty good reasons as to why. So the jacket theory is pretty much derived from the idea of Attack on Titan having alternate timelines or parallel universes, however you want to see it. And to be honest, if we are wrong about Attack on Titan getting an anime original ending, I will say that the one thing that we is right about is Attack on Titan having alternate timelines. But being wrong about Isayama treating or even thinking to treat the anime as such. Now, Attack on Titan having alternate timelines pretty much got confirmed for me a long time ago. Basically back when I made the connection explaining the reason as to why Eren's reaction to his dream and also his positioning in the anime being so different than what it was in the manga. And basically showing you guys that the beginning of the anime could be a continuation to the ending to the manga. And that we would not be getting a different ending just because the ending to the manga was bad, but instead be getting a different ending because of how everything ended up being for nothing in the ending to the manga. But that only happens if Isayama was actually thinking that far ahead. And a lot of people think he wasn't. And to be honest, I can understand because AoE is just that fucking good of a fucking theory. Now, there's other ways that you can prove that Attack on Titan has alternate timelines. Such as Isayama showing us back in chapter 130 that the anime and the manga could be two separate things. Because of the fact that manga Eren had memories of things that were only shown in the anime. Another thing that you can use is what happened in chapter 138, which is called a long dream. And as we all know, Eren and Mikasa refers to these long dreams as memories. So what ends up happening in chapter 138 is that Mikasa ends up escaping to a memory that she has where things happened a lot differently than what originally happened. And she was also talking to an entirely different version of Eren who had a different mindset than what her original Eren had. And knowing that chapter 138 is pretty much Isayama's version of Mikasa's OVA, which is all about her going back in time through her memories and doing things differently and basically creating a different timeline. So it's really not that hard to believe that this is what's going on in the story of Attack on Titan. You can also use what happened in episode 4 to the second part of the final season to Attack on Titan, where anime Eren gets granted access to the Titan Path and he's able to see a different version of Kid Mikasa and the AU version of teenage Mikasa and Armin. Now, knowing that Isayama wanted his AU cast to be connected to the main story, how else would you be able to do that other than Attack on Titan having alternate timelines? You can also use some of the things that Isayama was heavily inspired by to create Attack on Titan, such as Life is Strange and also Love Love, which was Isayama's biggest inspiration. I mean, he literally copied the entire ending to Love Love, so why not just do exactly what Love Love did and just create a different ending that's going to be connected to the others? Which is why the beginning of the anime being a continuation to the ending to the manga made so much sense to me. Now, the jacket theory adds to the proof that Attack on Titan has alternate timelines, but what it essentially does is it put things in perspective. Because we've been trying to figure out if it's a time loop, alternate timelines, or both. And it very well can be both. But the jacket theory pretty much tells us that it looks like a time loop, but it's actually just alternate timelines or parallel universes. Because if it was just a time loop, then we wouldn't see Eren with a different color jacket, or Mikasa with a different color scarf, or the AU cats. Everything would just be the fucking same. The only thing that would be different is Eren's dream and the position that he wakes up under his tree. Everything else would be the fucking same. But like I said, it can be both, but the jacket theory definitely gives us a better perspective of what's probably really going on. Now, what makes the jacket theory very interesting is that throughout the entire story of Attack on Titan in the anime, we've always seen Eren with a red jacket. In the openings, the endings, or whenever Eren would have a flashback, or whenever Mikasa would have a flashback about Eren, it's always been Eren with a red jacket. But only after anime Eren got granted access to the Titan Path, and the Titan Path tree being a causality conductor, which is a pipeline between worlds that allows information to be sent from one place to another. Basically, the Titan Path tree is where all the different timelines connect at. And Eren being the founder of Titan is what allows him to gain all of this information from these different timelines. Only then is when we start to see alternate versions of the characters in the anime, like Manga Kid Mikasa or AU Mikasa and AU Armin. And now all of a sudden, anime Eren and Mikasa is having flashbacks of a different version of Kid Eren, which is Manga Kid Eren. And I find that very, very fucking interesting, because throughout the entire anime it's always been Eren with a red jacket. And this pretty much convinces me that this is way more than just an artistic choice. But here's the reason why I start to be a little bit skeptical about the jacket theory. As we all know, in Core 1 to the final season of Attack on Titan, Kid Eren is being shown saying this is freedom. And as we all know, the reason why we see Kid Eren in the first place is because of the fact that Eren has to revert back to his kid self to go back to the mindset that he once used to have, where he thought that the outside world was empty. Now, even though I'm a little bit skeptical about the jacket theory, what makes this specific thing interesting is the fact that you have anime adult Eren reverting back to his manga kid self, knowing that at the beginning of the story for Attack on Titan in the anime Eren reverted back to his anime kid self. So for anime Eren to now revert back to his manga kid self, especially after being exposed to different timelines, it definitely makes things interesting. And it also adds towards the idea of Eren's thoughts becoming incoherent due to him being exposed to multiple different timelines all at once. So it does make sense for him to be so fucking confused to the point where he actually ends up reverting back to another version of his kid self. But then you end up thinking about, why didn't he do this in the manga timeline, basically physically becoming another version of himself. Another thing that I'm skeptical about is the fact that manga Kid Eren shouldn't even physically exist in the anime timeline. He should only exist in a form of a memory, because that's all he should be. A fucking memory. Now, another thing that I'm skeptical about is the fact that anime Eren becomes Manga Kid Eren. I mean, logically speaking, he shouldn't even want to become Manga Kid Eren or any version of Manga Eren, knowing that Manga Eren failed. I mean, technically speaking, anime Eren should have a entirely different mindset. That's why anime Eren's reaction towards the scenery and also the time path being so different in the anime than what it was in the manga was so important to us. Because it pretty much showed us that this is a different version of Eren, and that he felt entirely different to what his other version of himself felt about the situation. So anime Eren becoming the manga kid version of himself kind of defeats the whole purpose of that. And the reason why I feel that way is because at the end of Love Love Alternative, which is Isayama's biggest inspiration for what Eren is going through, when Takiro gets his memories back, he is then told that what he thought was going on is not actually the truth, which was that he was just receiving memories from alternate versions of himself. The truth is that these memories that he was receiving was actually his memories of things that he had done differently in these different timelines. Being in disbelief about it, he ended up saying that he would never do anything that these other versions of himself had done, which means that he felt entirely different than what his other versions of himself had felt. He didn't want to be them. He didn't even want to believe that at one point he was them. Which is why anime Eren's feelings towards the time path and also the scenery being so different than manga Eren's made so much fucking sense, because it should be. So logically speaking, anime Eren should not want to be manga Kid Eren. Now, I'm not saying that he doesn't have to cope, but I've said this before in the past and I'll say it again, it should have been anime Kid Eren saying this is freedom instead of it being manga Kid Eren. Anime Kid Eren saying this is freedom would have basically solidified all of our theories and showed us even more that this is a entirely different Eren. At least to me, it would have been more of a W for AoE. And that's not me saying that manga Eren saying this is freedom in the anime timeline is not a W, but it's a W that comes with a lot of fucking questions and concerns. But with it being anime Kid Eren saying this is freedom, that's just a fucking W. But that's pretty much all of my thoughts regarding the jacket theory. And if I was to put a number to it, I would say that I'm 80% sure that this is something and like 20% sure that this is just a fuck up, you know? I'm hoping that it's not a fuck up. But this is the end of the video. You ain't got like, you got to comment, but I do appreciate it if you just sub and if you do. And I'm out, bro.
So what if the niggas make more? I knew my time would come and had to wait for it. So every night a nigga pray for it. Ain't no going back, the only way is forward. See some people they weren't made for. They roll it fit my real like it was made for.